Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The Prayer of a Sufi. In February 1978, Johannes Wittenween was visiting Sri Lanka in his official capacity as Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund. Eager to meet a Sufi teacher, he expressed his interest to the people he was with, and they brought him to meet Bawa Muhaiyaddeen. After speaking with him that evening, Mr. Wittenween expressed a wish to meditate along with him, and was asked to return at 4:30 the following morning. It was then that Bawa Muhaiyaddeen gave the following discourse about the Dhikr, La Ilaha Illallah, as performed by Sufis. My brother, there is something I would like to tell you about. We have gathered together here for early morning prayer. It is customary for people of all religions to gather in this way for prayer. In Islam, they gather 5 prescribed times each day. In some religions, they pray 3 times a day, in some twice, and in others, just once a day. But no one has ever seen God. There is no one who has seen God with his own eyes. However, man has an awareness of a certain mystery within. That feeling demonstrates and proves to him that there is something within that carries him and keeps him going when he feels he just cannot go on. Although he is able to accomplish many things by himself, there are times when a man feels helpless. At such times, that something is there doing what is needed, thus demonstrating to his awareness and his wisdom the existence of something beyond. Man calls that something God. This thing called God cannot be seen as a sun, a moon, a star, or any form. It is useless to try to imagine what it is like by comparing it with things that can be seen. Therefore, man wonders what God looks like. He makes statues of various animals, dogs, cats, elephants, peacocks, vultures, eagles, and wonders if God could be like any of them. He believes in them and worships them as gods. Thus, different groups try to formulate some image for God, based upon their degree of faith and their level of wisdom and intellect. But no matter what they create or how they worship it, they all share the belief, the inner awareness, the mysterious feeling that there is something far, far beyond what they can see or imagine. This something within not only provides man with explanations and enables him to do things that are beyond him, it also builds his faith in the existence of God. Such faith does exist within each of us, telling us that there is a mystery working within us, a mystery we cannot understand. The word secret implies that an answer can be found. A mystery, however, is something that eludes us, even when we think we have grasped it. It remains beyond our knowing. We call this mystery, this power, God. Some deny that there is such a power. Others make idols and worship them as gods. Some even worship animal forms as gods. Still others say, yes, there is a power, but it is not a form, it is light. This is how it is. Many, many methods of worship like this are practiced. Those who follow these practices believe in them as true forms of prayer. Truth, however, lies in an altogether different domain. True prayer is not at all like any of the prayers we have seen. To do this prayer, the one who is praying and the one who is being prayed to must be one. They have to be one. That is true prayer. It is very, very hard to find anyone in the world who actually practices true form of prayer. Such beings are extremely rare. Different people pray in different ways. Different religions and scriptures teach different prayers. Islam prescribes 5 times of prayers a day. Let us talk a little bit about this. In Islam, people turn from the east to the west and pray facing the direction of the Qibla. They say that by worshipping in this manner they are facing Allah and praying to Him. However, according to the understanding of the Sufis, God exists everywhere, in every place, in every direction. There is no place where God is not. There is no place where God cannot be known. For he exists within everything as a power, just as water exists within the earth, and air exists everywhere, just as fragrance exists within a flower, and heat exists within earth and rocks. So a light and essence exists within each created thing. This power of God exists within all lives, all creations, making them grow. God is within everything. There is no place where he is not. This is what Sufis realize. Islam says that when you pray, you must face towards the west, toward the Qibla. But to a Sufi, the whole world is a prayer mat. Wherever he may be, In whatever direction he may turn, he can pray to God. Therefore, what is the real meaning regarding East and West? The East signifies man's creation, his birth, his appearing. And what is the West? That is where he comes to his end. That is his disappearing. He appears in the East and disappears in the West. When Islam says face towards the West, it really means that man must disappear in prayer. He was born in the East, and now he must die in the West, die in his prayer. He must lose the self. The West is the final state in which he loses himself in God. Thus, a Sufi speaks of the East as the place where all man's thoughts appear, while the West is the place where all the appeared will disappear and die. His thoughts, his mind, his desires, his form, all these will be subdued, condensed, brought under control, and made to die. Prayer for him is to lose himself, to die in God in total surrender to him. This is true prayer. If he wants to reach God, whatever worlds he holds within himself must leave him. They must die. Only if his self dies can this happen. The world in which he appeared must be made to separate from him and disappear. Only then can he see the station he was in before he arrived. Where was he earlier? What state was he in then? From what place did he come? He was in God before he came to this world, and only if the world dies from him can he go back to that which he came from, to God. No matter who it is that is praying, if when he prays his self has died, that it can be said that he has truly prayed. That is prayer. For a Sufi, the only true prayer is a prayer done in this state. Only when one attains this state and prays in this way can it be called a true prayer. The prayer of a Sufi does not require being seated in a particular manner or posture. This is not necessary. What is required of a Sufi? Every one of the 43,242 breaths taken every 24 hours must connect with God. Only when his every breath connects with God, constantly interacting with him, can one be known as a Sufi. This means speaking without talking, smiling without smiling, seeing without looking, understanding without thinking, walking without walking, sleeping without sleeping, and eating without eating. There are many such subtle meanings within what we call Sufism. For a Sufi, prayer consists of prostrating, sajda to God, 43,242 times each day, because with every breath he lays his forehead at the feet of God. Each breath draws him into the state of surrender to God. This prayer cannot be fulfilled by praying 3 or 5 times a day. Sufism is not a state of exhilaration and delusion, like that derived from taking marijuana and opium. Sufism is not getting married and raising children. Sufism, or Sufisun, means to be a son to the world, and Sufisun means to be a son to God. In order to attain this state, we need to establish perfect control of our mind and our desires. Not only must they be controlled, they must be made to dwindle to nothing. We also need perfect control of our physical visions and perceptions. We need perfect control of the 5 elements, the sexual energies and sexual fluids, and of the world within. All these various aspects have to shrink to nothing. One in whom all these are reduced to nothing is a sheikh. He is a Sufi sheikh, one who can guide the way and show the path. Such is the state of Sufism, the state of Sufisun. But if these things have not been brought under control and reduced, then he is only in the state of Sufi, not Sufi. Just as everything born in the world must die, just as everything that appeared must disappear. If one is truly in prayer, everything that has manifested within him must die in that prayer. That is true prayer. When he prays to God, when he worships God, everything that appeared within him must die. However, if one holds onto his faith in those things evokes him, placing them in front of him and worshipping them, that is not prayer. If one makes a form of the monkey that is within the mind and worships it, that is not prayer. If the elephant that is the arrogance within the mind is manifested outwardly in worship, that is not prayer. It is only an inner animal that is manifested and prayed to outside, an inner elephant or dog or snake or monkey. This is not prayer. Only when all these things have died can you call it prayer. Only when the world as we perceive it and all the animals within us have been made to die, it is true prayer. The prayers prayed in this state are called Sufi prayers, and this state is known as Sufism. This, my brother, is what we are trying to learn here. It is this that my children and I are trying to practice. This is why we wake them up at such an early hour. My brother, when fields and crops need to be irrigated, it is the overseer's duty to open the gates that will release water from the storage tank. But each farmer is responsible for channeling the water to his own field. He must do that for himself. The one who opens the main source will not divert the water to the individual fields. The same holds true in Sufism. It is my duty to open the gates and allow the water to flow out a little at a time. But it is each person's responsibility to direct that water to his own field and cultivate it. That is not my responsibility. At this time at 4 a.m., the mind is dull and in a state of torpor, a feeling similar to the torpor experienced right after a meal. We feel tired and want to sleep. Again, at about 11 a.m. or noon, we tend to feel tired and are unable to think clearly. This feeling comes in cycles just as hunger does. In the early morning, around 3 a.m., Satan, the world, and the elements press down upon us and try to keep us drowsy. At such times, we have to shake ourselves free and wake up. That is our duty. This is why prayers have been instituted at these early hours. Man cannot truly pray until the mind has been controlled and subjugated. Before he can pray, the mind must die, and the world within him must die. Only if all that he holds within him dies can he maintain this other state. All the burdens he has loaded onto himself must be unloaded before he can take on something new. As long as he holds onto what he is carrying, there will be no room to take on something of greater benefit. If he can unload the kingdom of hell, if he can make it die and leave him, then the kingdom of heaven can come into him. Only if the five elements are unloaded can God come into him. My brother, to accomplish this is in our lives is Sufism. The Sufi prayer is La ilaha illallah. Other than you, there is nothing else. You are Allah. This is the true prayer. In this prayer, a sound, not heard outwardly, should form at the tip of the tongue without the tongue actually moving. It is similar to the playing of the flute. Further, the La ilaha and Illallah should work like the heart pumping and resting, closing in, opening, contracting, and relaxing. The opening of the heart is La ilaha and the closing is Illallah. As the breath goes in and out, it follows the rhythm of the opening and the closing of the heart. As the heart opens, we breathe out, and as it contracts, we breathe in. As it opens, the prayer is La ilaha. Except for you, there is nothing. You alone exist. This is the point. All other things are subject to disappearance. They are born and they perish, but you are Allah. La ilaha. I am not. All these things around me are not real. There is nothing other than you. As the heart contracts, the prayer Illallah must go in. Illallah. You are Allah. You must establish that power in the heart. Just as those in Islam face toward the west, you must point your wisdom and faith toward the power that is God. Then joining with it, you must draw it along on the incoming breath to the accompaniment of Illallah and establish it in the right side of the heart. So La ilaha rides up on the breath that is exhaled through the left nostril, while Illallah rides in on the breath that enters through the right nostril. These are the words of the Sufi, I am not, only you are. Other than you, there is nothing. You alone are God. This affirmation is prayer. The proof of this state comes when the I is not, when the I dies, when the world does not exist, when nothing exists except God. That is prayer. And this prayer we prostrate to Allah 43,242 times each day with each breath we take at every moment while we walk or sit, whether we are happy or sad, asleep or awake, reading or speaking. In what way should this occur? Just as a man's heart goes on pumping as he goes about all his activities, so this breath of prayer should be constantly moving through his body. This is the prayer pump. His faith is the magnet of remembrance pointing toward that power. That remembrance must keep on pumping within him no matter what he is doing. The work we do in this world is a function of the mind, while our prayer is our faith and certitude in truth. Working toward the truth is the work of the right hand, while working in the world is the work of the left hand. Although these are separate functions, it is possible for both to be operating simultaneously. Just as the heart goes on pumping automatically, prayer must also go on at all times. Thus, both kinds of work, the work in the world and the God's work, must go on at all times, in conjunction with the flow of the breath. Understanding this and abiding by it is Sufism. Unless one becomes a Sufi son and gives light to the world, his prayer will not be true prayer. In the world, as the seasons change, only the sun by the light it sheds will know what is occurring in different places. Similarly, only if one has become a son, only if one's wisdom, truth, and prayer have attained that state can he understand what God and prayer really are. Until then, he cannot understand. This is what is meant when people speak of Sufism. Therefore, my brother, it would be good if these children could learn this kind of prayer. Now, say a person is learning to drive. Once he learns to steer the car, then with practice he may be able to drive. But it is not enough just to be able to drive the car. He must be able to read the map, know the route he has to take, and also know the mechanism of the car. If he is not familiar with the parts and how they work, he will not know what to do if the car stalls. The cause may be a blocked pipe or a loose nut. Only if he has the know-how he will be able to detect the problem, fix it, and be on his way. Otherwise, he will be stranded. Similarly, in Sufism, teaching you just to drive is not sufficient. You must also know the inner workings and the route you need to take. It is for this reason, my brother, that my children and I are practicing this form of prayer. We are all learning. We say La ilaha in Illallah, La ilaha illallah. This sound must come from within the movement of the breath. It is like a song played by a flute. The music comes from the instrument, not from the flutist's voice. Or, for example, a guitar player has a certain song in mind and it comes out through the guitar as he plucks the strings. The music comes from the guitar, not from the guitarist. The nerves and blood vessels in your body are like the guitar strings. When they are strummed with iman, faith, certitude, and determination, they must vibrate with the melody, La ilaha illallah. This sound must come forth from every one of the 4,408 blood vessels in the body, from the 248 bones, from the ligaments, the nerves, the muscles, and even from the blood. It must emanate from the 105 million hair follicles and pores of the skin. The sound of La ilaha illallah must come forth from every single part of the body. It must come forth without you actually making a sound. This should go on continually, just as the heart does. Because every minute part of the body vibrates with that sound, 800 million sounds of prayer resonate from your body with every breath. You are saying just this one word, but it resonated by 800 million parts of the body. It is as though 800 million mouths are saying that word. The breath that went out is just one, but inside you all the nerves, the blood vessels, the skin, the bones, the tissue, every one of the 800 million parts within you resonate to that sound. Only when that word is said with this kind of power can it be called Sufism. You must draw each breath in that state. It is not just saying words with the mouth. Now say it with me. La ilaha illallah. Faith must move with the breath to dive into God and draw that power in through the right nostril. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Then drop the sound and continue with only the movement. Keep on breathing in this way. Bawa Muhaiyaddeen demonstrates. A short silent dhikr follows. Dawn breaks and the birds are chirping. Bawa Muhaiyaddeen continues. Now the day is dawning. As the sun rises over the ocean from below the horizon, it looks red, like blood or fire. This is a time of turmoil. There is a magnetic force within the earth that has a connection within man. As the sun rises, the red fire mingles with the blood and man's mind goes up and down, drawn and pulled by this magnetic force. This force pulls on his blood ties and attachments. Within man there is a world, and there is also the world on the outer side. Within man there is an ocean of illusion, and outside there are oceans formed of water. Within him there is a sun and a moon, and there is also a sun and moon on the outside. As the sun rises, its energy, Shakti, pulls on him. And just as the sun possesses a blood red color when it rises and sets, so man holds onto numerous blood ties and attachments, both when he is being born and when he is dying. This is the significance of the color red. Sufis are not affected by these inner attachments. For a Sufi, all these have died. He has made them die. There will be no pull on him, because no such connection exists in him. Just as a magnet cannot exert a pull if there is no iron, a Sufi cannot be dragged by the world if he has no world within him. But as long as the world continues to exist within a man, it will have that magnetic pull. Therefore, it is not good to pray when that pull is active, because during this time he is prone to turmoil. If the world is still within him, that pull will occur, and he should not continue his prayer. He is like iron being pulled by a magnetic current. If, however, he becomes like a log of dead wood, the current cannot pull on him or draw him toward it. Such a one can pray at any time. For him, all 24 hours are a time of prayer, and so this restriction does not apply. But for those who still retain any iron that can be dragged by the magnetic current, their prayers must be at a prescribed time. Only Sufis can continue beyond this time. For all others, prayers just after sunrise can result in chaos. They will not find peace at that time. If we want to understand what prayer really is, we must first understand how to pray, how to conduct ourselves, how to say the prayers, and how to bring them within. For instance, in the mosque, the call to prayer is given in a loud voice. Allahu Akbar, God is great. People respond to the call and go to the mosque for prayer. When the prayer begins again, Allahu Akbar is said, but this time the sound is not as loud. When the congregation bows and ruku, the sound becomes even less, and when they prostrate themselves, the sound is still quieter. Much like that, the sound in the Shariat form of prayer is loud, but as you progress gradually, the sound grows quieter and quieter. Similarly, while doing the dhikr, when you say La Ilaha, the sound can be heard. When you say Illallah, the sound becomes less, until finally there is no sound. Although you may be aware of the motor of the dhikr running, you will not be aware of the current as it passes through. Now, electricity exists within the five elements: earth, fire, water, air, and ether. As long as it intimately mingled with them, we can safely touch the earth or the water. However, once the electric current is extracted, it becomes dangerous, and if the elements in our body touch it, it can shock us and fling us away or even kill us. In this state, electricity and the elements are no longer the friends they once were. The dhikr works in a similar way. In the body, the prayer current is intimately mingled with the five elements. If we succeed in completely extracting the prayer current from the elements, this body will be transformed into pure current, into light. It will become a current city. If any element makes contact with it at this point, the current will shock us and fling us far away. We need to extract the prayer current, but we must not touch it as long as we have any connection to our body of the five elements, or it will shock us and fling us down. The currents move within our body without our being aware of it, just as electricity flows invisibly through copper wires. We can see the insulated wires, but we cannot see the current that passes through them. So there is no way of knowing whether it is flowing, unless we use a voltage tester. Even then, we will not actually feel the electricity, we will only see a glowing light on the instrument. Prayer is like that. The current may be flowing, but to prove it is there, we need to affix the correct bulb and switch it on. The switch, faith in God, makes a connection to the bulb, which stands for God, via this prayer that flows along the nerves and blood vessels. The prayer will be flowing, but no one else will be aware of it. It is not something one can perceive through touch or sight. One who tries in this way will not find it. So do it like this: first say La ilaha audibly, and then say Illallah with a softer sound. As you go on practicing it, the sound will grow softer and softer. Later, when it begins to run automatically with the breath, your prayer will be so imperceptible that no one will be aware of it except God, the wire, and the current that flows through the wire. No one else will know. This is true prayer. As you go on doing the dhikr, the prayer will continue to flow along automatically, unseen like the electric current in a wire. It cannot be shown to others, but if someone who holds on to the elements within him tries to touch it, he will know it, for it will hurl him away. My children, this is what the prayer of a Sufi is like. Once it has been extracted, it will flow along easily. The light will be imperceptible to others, but it will be seen by God. A true Kamil Sheikh will also be able to verify whether the prayer is flowing or not. Our prayer must attain this state. All 24 hours of Sufi prayer must go on without ceasing. Both negative and positive currents can be functioning simultaneously throughout the day. The negative is our duty to the world. The positive is prayer, our duty to God. Both are necessary. Both have to keep working. One current should work in one direction, the other in a different direction. Do not try to run them together or let them contact each other. If you do, it will start a fire. Each must go its own way. Then there will only be light. That is true prayer. This is the prayer we must practice, the prayer of Sufis. Every child must perform this prayer in the proper way. It was necessary for me to speak at length today about prayer, even though it may have interrupted the meditation that some of my children wanted to do. I could speak even longer, but my brother has work to do, so we should not detain him too long. I had to speak because I saw a thought in my brother. What is this thing called prayer? What does prayer really mean? How should it be done? Because I saw these questions within him, I had to give this long explanation. What is prayer? To whom does one pray? True prayer occurs only when God prays to God. That is real prayer. La ilaha, nothing else but you. Illallah, you are God. In that state, you become God and pray to God. That is the word. Once something has been recorded on tape, it is not necessary for a person to be there to speak. The tape itself will emit the sound of his voice. In the same way, if one has surrendered to God, if he has recorded himself onto God, that God himself will play back that.